11 Crowns for Africa. In 1544, this map showed the people what Africa might look like. It is one of the first maps to depict Africa in its completeness and gets rid of the Ptolemaic worldview that the south of Africa is connected to Asia. We will go through this map to explore what it was like in 1544. We start in the south with the Cape of Good Hope, first sailed around in 1488 by Bartolomeo Diaz. 10 years later, Vasco da Gama used it to find his way to India. By the time this map was published in 1544, the Portuguese had explored and intervened in Africa for over 40 years. Cuyola Regnum is the Kilwa Sultanate. This had already internal strife when the Portuguese arrived, and the Portuguese didn't make things better, so it ceased to exist at some point. To the east we have 4 kingdoms. Regnum Melinde, which is the Malindi city-state in the Azania region, absolutely important to Portugal, gave Vasco da Gama the navigator to find India, and was then an outpost of Portuguese activity in the Indian Ocean. In return, Portugal helped it a little bit to beat up its neighbors. The Regnum Salem is probably Zala. This was a port city on the Horn of Africa. Regnum Habessid. This one caught me off guard. This is Abyssinia, aka the Ethiopian Empire, an isolated Christian state and successor to the Aksum Empire, which according to stories was at one point invaded by a Hebrew queen. The Portuguese helped Abyssinia against the other Sultanate, and Abyssinia remained an empire until a communist revolution in the 1970s. Then we have Amhara, seat of Prester John. This was a mythical Christian king supposed to reign in a faraway land. Abyssinia fit the bill close enough, so it landed on this map. Nubiae Regnum, merely an echo of the past. 2 to 3 Christian Nubian kingdoms had existed since 350 AD as successors to the Iron Age Kush Empire. By the time of this map, they had already vanished though, kick-started by the Crusades, which put them into the crosshairs of their Muslim neighbors. Up north we have famous Egypt. This is not listed as a kingdom because it was part of the Ottoman Empire, which is not mentioned in this map, maybe because its center was in West Asia, not Africa. Marmarica should be the region between Libya and Egypt, but seems to identify both itself and Libya here. Regno Tunis. This is an interesting one. It used to be inhabited by the Muslim Hafsid dynasty until the Ottoman Empire invaded it. However, Spain invaded back and reinstated Hafsid control as a vassal. So that was very shortly before this map came out. And spoiler alert, the Ottomans would reconquer it 30 years later. To the west we have a complicated situation. Africa lists 5 cities, some already abandoned, some renamed. This here is more an exercise in listing old Roman city names. We also get a kingdom symbol, but it seems split between Regnum Fes, Maroc Regnum, possibly even Barbaria and Mori. This region was heavily contested. We go down to the Sahara. There's a mix of 3 inland waters. Niger Palos is likely the Niger inland delta, Dara might be the Dra River, and Lagos Libya might be Lake Chad. Points for listing them all, even though they are drawn incorrectly. Hodeni and Tagaza were stops along the trade routes in the Sahara, and for some reason they write Libya Desertum just below a giant forest. 2 regions left to go. Central Africa has the Regnum or Guinea, which is the kingdom of Benin, completely unrelated to nowadays Benin. Benin and its predecessor, the Edo Kingdom, were household names in that region. This is the only time I ever see the word monoculi. Usually we would call this a cyclops, but a combination of mono and oculus works as well, I guess. Finally, West Africa. Regnum Mali is the Mali Empire. Once powerful, at this time it is struggling against the Songhai Kingdom, which is not named here, but the city Kotia probably refers to Kukia, an important Songhai city. So it seems like Mali and Songhai was merged. Imperio Nebiorum implies that Mali is a bit more important than everyone else in that region. Regnu Gambre were local rulers at the Casamance River, and Regnum Senege is the Wolof Empire, which had been a Mali subject. Finally, fun fact, Zinus Rubrus means Red Gulf and is a reference to Hanno, the Carthaginian navigator from the 400s BC, who sailed the west coast of Africa and described a river of fire flowing into the ocean. I hope you enjoyed this trip through the map. The book Cosmographia by Sebastian Münster, in which it occurred, has other maps to offer. We already covered America. I'm probably going to cover Asia as well. Very much looking forward to that. See you in the next video. Bye bye.